Hi everybody, Suzanne Barr here, UC, and today I'll be taking you through the Assignment 2 essay. Okay, please make sure you go to the assessment information sheet and check out the due date, and just a reminder that penalties can be applied if your assignment is late. So do make sure if you need a 48-hour extension that you ask your ELA. If you need longer, you need to apply using the online extension form, and that goes straight to me. The word limit on this assignment is 2,000 words, plus or minus 10%. And a reminder also that your ELA may not read any text that goes over that plus 10% limit. If you go too much under the 2,000 words, you may not cover all of the criteria. So try to get as close to those 2,000 words as you can. Okay, this assignment is asking you to critically evaluate teaching approaches with respect to their ability to support diverse and equitable learning environments. So having a look at teaching methodologies, maybe whole school approaches, parent-teacher partnerships, student-teacher partnerships, and really having a look at everything that's available to you in terms of different teaching methods and approaches. The purpose of the task is to enable you to develop a deeper understanding of the complex socio-cultural factors and theoretical perspectives around human rights. So having a look at the socio-cultural background of children that are being educated, what is influencing on children's rights, considering diversity, equity, and social justice, which impact on the lives of children and teachers. So pretty much everything right in the first half of the TP will be useful for this assessment, and possibly beyond that as well. So the task is assessing your ability to demonstrate that you meet the criteria in the following unit outcome, which is to design and critically evaluate teaching approaches with respect to their ability to support diverse and equitable learning environments. So you really do need to make that link between the teaching strategies or approaches that you find and how they might support a classroom that is equitable. Okay, so there are two topics. You only choose one topic to respond to. The first topic is discuss the ethics of teaching sexuality education in primary schools. In your essay, critically evaluate different teaching approaches, i.e. abstinence-only program and whole school programs, and the implications these have for teachers and students. So critically evaluating, meaning looking at the positives, looking at maybe the not so positives, really having a think about ethically where you would stand in terms of sexuality education in primary school. So what are the ethics, or what is the thinking behind teaching sexuality? We have covered a little bit of this in the previous assessment, so you'll just be expanding further on that, on those ethical considerations. Okay, essay topic number 2, discuss the term moral panic and its relationship to young people. We had a whole week where we discussed this, so perhaps go back to the discussion board and have a look. In your essay, make reference to the media's role in positioning young people and consider strategies that teachers can use to support students to reframe bias and stereotypes about young people. So really having a look at what the teacher's role there is in challenging those bias and those stereotypes that are often represented in the media and often blown out of proportion. Okay, so in terms of the writing style for this essay, there's no first person, so there's no me, I, we, our, or you. This is a traditional academic essay, so you won't be able to use things like headings, no pictures, no appendices. It's just a straight essay. essay style writing is required. There is a very good guide in the in the student portal. Have a look at that. That'll give you some really good guidance on essay writing. You do need to use APA referencing. We'll probably be a little bit stricter on that this time since it's your second assessment, and it is very much expected with essay style. And there's also some good resources around assessment support in the portal as well. So have a look at those. Just a bit of guidance around studying and writing assessments. Your ELAs are always happy to provide discipline or specific content advice in the Assessment 2 discussion. So although ELAs can't really look at drafts, it's not part of their role to look at drafts of your essays. However, we do have a service that does that called Your Tutor, and they will be able to certainly give you feedback on your academic writing and make sure that your essay is in the right format, in the right style, and that it's clear and easy to understand. So although Your Tutor people don't necessarily have their head around the content of the unit, they certainly can look at how effective your academic writing is and your essay writing in this case, whereas your ELAs can help you more with the content. There's also a very good resource on assignment support in the portal as well, so have a look at that. That could be helpful. Okay, so you're submitting this essay in the same way as you did last time. Scroll down on the assessment page and hit Assessment 2 Essay. You can, as you know, upload into the practice area a few times before you actually submit your final one. You can only submit your final assessment in the actual assessment submission area once only. So you need to make sure that's your final version when you submit it. It does help us if you name your assignment essay to essay final. So we know that you definitely have uploaded the version that you wanted to upload. Hopefully some of you already did this last time with your last assessment, checking your originality score to make sure that it's not too high. If you see that your originality score is quite high, you might need to review it and have a look and see if there are some big chunks of text that you've taken from your source. Make sure that you've referenced everything correctly, just to avoid any chance of a plagiarism penalty. So we're using an analytic rubric again, which means that there is set criteria. It's broken down into 4 different criteria, and you are given marks in each of those areas, which then add up to a whole mark. So we'll have a quick look at the criteria for this assessment. So 30% of your mark is dedicated to understanding the broader social context in which education operates. So that meaning what's the social backgrounds, the cultural backgrounds, the diversity in children that you might be teaching, what are all those different influences and different backgrounds that are coming into the mix in your classroom. So at the pass level, you might make a basic reference to this broader context with relevant readings and resources. In the credit, it's a significant reference which has been made to the broader context of education, and you've made very strong links with your readings and your resources. And then the distinction area is, again, you've made significant reference to the broader context of education, and you have drawn on multiple resources to support your discussion. So there's a lot of connection between the theory, being the research or the frameworks that you find, or the writings that you find, and the actual topic. And at the high distinction level, outstanding reference has been made to the connections between broader social context of education and theory, and critical insights have been put forward, demonstrating an awareness of relevant resources, readings, and broader theoretical frameworks around education. So up at that higher level, we're always looking to see that you have a critical understanding of your writings and your research, that you really get it. You're not just sort of copying and pasting, and you can really articulate what you understand and what you've found out about that broader context in which education operates. So yeah, so, and it's of course very clear in your writing too. You're making your arguments quite persuasive. Criterion 2 is an analysis of the key themes within broad understandings of inclusive teaching and learning practices. So at the pass level, key themes have been identified and an attempt has been made to connect with the broader principles of inclusion. So really discussing you know, how a teaching and learning environment can be inclusive, and the key themes around that, how that's made possible. At the distinction level, key themes have been clearly identified with detailed links to broader theories. Theories just really mean the writings of an author or a framework or a model of learning, teaching and learning. So any kind of body of work that puts forth an argument or a persuasive set of ideals, I suppose you could put it, that, you know, that contribute to this area of inclusivity in teaching and learning. Analysis is supported with strong examples and relevant literature. At the high distinction level, extensive subject knowledge and detailed insights are made into the connections between key themes, so your key arguments, your key claims that you're making about inclusivity, and theories. Analysis is supported by comprehensive research and has some original and insightful perspectives on the topic. So again, we're starting to hear your voice coming through at the high distinction level. When we read, we definitely can see that you understand what you're discussing, and that you have actually, you know, you've put in a little bit of your own opinion there, but it is of course always supported by research. Criterion 3 is evidence of reading to inform and support your analysis. So this really referencing and research. This section, you get 20% here. At the pass level, there's basic reference to relevant readings and resources that discuss the content of the topic. Issues are identified, but with limited discussion and connection. So it's not really just about the research itself, it's about how you connect to that research in your discussion. So at this pass level, you might be drawing mostly on the learning materials. You might say, I don't usually like to give a number, but you know, it might be 4 or 5 references. At the credit level, you know, you might be looking at more like 6 to 8. Again, you know, it's got to be very relevant research. It's got to be you know, really supporting what you're saying in your discussions. It has to be convincing. You know, usually the references are of high quality because they're academic. They're not just taken from a website on Google. They're not Wikipedia or anything like that. They're actually academic resources that you've sourced from the student library, the online library, or from Google Scholar. And there's quite a range of resources there. So yeah, it might be 6 to 8 possibly. Issues are successfully incorporated in the discussion with reference to the theory. So it's making that very clear connection between your discussion, the arguments you're putting forth, and linking that up with your research and the theories that you found. A distinction, significant range of relevant readings. So you might be looking at over 8 references here. Might be 8 to 10, something like that, would be quite a significant range. You have sourced these resources in the context of the topic. The readings are integrated and used to enhance analysis. So analysis is really unpacking your research, really developing a strong understanding of it, looking at the pros and the cons, really maybe weighing up one bit of research against another. So rather than just having, drawing on one source in a paragraph, you might actually have 2 or 3 different sources, and you might be comparing the authors or finding a correlation between the authors to enhance your argument. So it's, it really is a balanced argument because you're drawing on a number of resources. And you've been able to do this by offering insights into the issues that are appropriate to the topic. So high distinction would be, maybe even more resources than that. It might be over 10 possibly. Again, it's most important that they're quality resources more than just getting resources for the sake of it, so sources for the sake of it. Your selection is important, so it's about being very particular about the resources that you are selecting. And again, still drawing from the learning materials, but of course you have gone wider than that to further deepen your understandings. You've found appropriate theoretical frameworks, and the selection of readings contribute to a thoughtful, detailed and in-depth discussion of the underpinning theory. Okay, criterion 4 is the structure and organisation of ideas. At pass level, the mode of communication is generally coherent, expression is clear, and there are no really obvious errors in grammar, punctuation and spelling. So you do have to have an acceptable level of academic writing to even pass. That's why submitting to your tutor can be quite helpful to make sure you've at least got that basic level of strong academic writing to enable you to pass. At the credit level, the work is clearly expressed in an appropriate style. You've made your points with clarity. The punctuation, spelling and grammar are all correct. The references are successfully incorporated into the discussion. And you've been able to paraphrase your research, not just copy and paste it. And you've used APA style of referencing successfully. To be able to pass any assignment, you do have to have research and in-text citations throughout. If you don't do that, then it's not considered academic writing, so you can't pass. At the distinction level, the work is fluent and stylish. It demonstrates confidence with the material. It's accurate. It's probably quite succinct as well. There's not a lot of going off track or waffling. It's really honing in on the most important points. The method and style of presentation is appropriate, as is the vocabulary and syntax. References are also successfully integrated. At the high distinction level, we would expect language to be highly sophisticated, fluent and persuasive expression of ideas. That doesn't mean you have to use lots and lots of big long words. It does mean that your argument has to be convincing and well articulated, with a bit of creativity in your writing in terms of your language that you're using. You're writing with accuracy and flair. There's a maturity of presentation and little ambiguity in the expression and information of ideas. So little ambiguity again just means you're not waffling, you're not going off track, you're not moving away from what is meant to be the main focus of discussion. The references embed expertly into the flow of information of ideas, and APA referencing is flawless. Okay, well, I think that's about it for this assessment. Hopefully it's not too complicated. It's an essay, so I'm sure you've all written essays before, but do post all of those questions in your discussion, please, and bring along any questions that you have to your collaborate coming up soon. Your collaborate will be an opportunity to discuss the assessment and to ask any questions of your ELAs. So good luck, everybody, and we'll see you at the collaborate. Thank you.